Hello, Architecture 1100. My name is Jose Bravo, and today I will be presenting my project on the Carson, Prairie, and Scott building, also known as the Sullivan Center. It is located in Chicago, Illinois, in the corner of South State Street and East Madison Street. The preliminary architect for this building is Louis Sullivan. It has a total of 12 floors with two commercial floors and a total of 10 uh, office floors. Uh, in terms of the form for this building, Louis Sullivan, his concept or was form must follow function, and so this was a mixed use building which allowed commercial space and also allowed office space in the upper floors, and so form must follow function. Uh, that was the saying or the form or the conceptual architectural design that he went by was that form must follow function, and therefore for the 10 office space floors that he did was if it was just going to be open office spaces, was that it was just going to be a simple design that allowed a lot of natural light to go in there and kind of made the people that were going to work there just have a feeling of natural light and open space. In terms of the function that it serves, it was a simple mixed use of commercial and office space building, and therefore what he did was just a simple department store and also office space that allowed people to come in, allow other people to come in, take an office space, and then just start working. Allow people that were on the first level that were walking by to attract shoppers to go inside. In terms of construction methods, this building actually had three construction stages. The first stage began in 1899, and it was the first two floors that were the first two commercial open space floors. The second phase was from 1903 to 1904. That was the remainder seven office space floors. And then last phase was finished in 1906. That were the last remainder of the three office space floors at the top. In terms of construction materials, iron cast was used in the first two commercial spaces of this building. Then you had a finish of cream terracotta in the outside of the office spaces, and a lot of detail was used. A key element was the use of fresh natural light that Sullivan wanted to integrate in his building, and therefore what he did was use the Chicago window as a key element to his design for the allowed to natural light to go in those office spaces, and also the key element that made this building go up 12 stories back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, was the use of the structural steel frame that not just allowed this building to go up, but also allowed many other buildings during its time to go up that height. It was considered a skyscraper, and therefore the use of the structural steel frame was a great use for this. In terms of historical significance, the historical significance was that back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Chicago was one of the busiest places in the world, and therefore, by bringing in mixed use of office and commercial space to this city, as Chicago, as we all know, was the significance was that it was during that time it was a great place for people to come by. Was a busy time and a busy place, and therefore that was the significance behind it, was that during that time that it was built, Chicago and many other cities around the world were really busy with the Industrial Revolution, and therefore bringing a lot of people and a lot of new people to be interested to come to Chicago and to allow people to experience this building was a significance for that. In terms of the movement or the architectural style of this building was it was a late 1900s and early 20th century kind of a American movement architectural style that included a lot of Art Nouveau detail in its exterior facade, especially within the Chicago window. If you go to the building, you will see a lot of great detail around built around the terracotta that was used during back to Roman times to Greek times. Also within the steel iron first two floors facade of this building, you will see a lot of great detail, especially in the front entrance of this building. Uh, and lastly, the concept behind it, form must follow function. As I previously said, it was the key element that allowed this building to kind of get put together and kind of derive the idea of this kind of rectangular and rounded shape corner at the corner of State Street and Madison Street, and really the simple way of kind of putting a mixed use of department store and office space put together. And now I would kind of quickly go around a 360-degree view of this model and kind of explain what I did in terms of materials and kind of put together, highlighting some key elements to the design of this building. All right, so for my model, so what I decided to do was this was built out of foam core, and also it was built out of paper for this rounded corner, and then I used black foam core to kind of show that contrast between kind of that white terracotta and the steel iron that was used in the first two floors. As you can see, these two first floors were definitely more higher and open since there were commercial spaces. What I tried to do within this area was to show since the first two floors kind of staked out almost, I decided to kind of double the size of the wall that was used here in the first two floors. And as you can see all throughout here, I cut all these to show kind of the style of that Chicago window that allow a lot of natural light to go in there. And if we go around this area right here, you would see that perfectly the windows and the structural frame of the outside lines up with the wood that I used to represent the structural steel frame that was used back then. And if you go around this corner, you can clearly kind of notice they're a little bit tight, but you can notice that these kind of perfectly line up in a grid that allow you to have that sense of that simple form of office space, and also the first two floors that were really high and open, that kind of brought this whole project kind of put together. If you go around to here, you can also see how I kind of integrated the wood that represents the structural steel columns in the frame that kind of allowed this to have a better view. What I tried to do here was kind of more like I guess you can say axonometric kind of a perspective view of this model to kind of show the interior while showing the two key elements of the outside exterior of this building. And as you can see here, you have these kind of first 9 floors go up a certain height, and then there's a setback, and then the remaining 3 floors kind of go up. As you can see, this represents a wall as well. So this allows you to have a good perspective of the design and the element of this building.